Welcome to our series of BinSense installation videos. In this video, we'll set up the hardware required for a BinSense Plus automated grain conditioning system. The first component that needs to be set up for a BinSense Plus system is the automation hub and related accessories. Choose a central spot in the yard to set up the automation hub. Some factors to consider when choosing a location are the distance to the bins and communication sight lines, the availability of power, and the proximity of structures that might influence temperature sensor readings. At the selected location, mount the ambient sensor 4 to 6 feet above the ground. Bend the included mounting bracket so that it matches the shape of the top of the ambient sensor and attach it with 2 3/4-inch self-tapping screws. Then use 3 screws to secure the bracket to a post or structure. Next, use 4 screws to secure the automation hub mounting bracket to a post or structure and set the automation hub in place on the bracket. Connect the ambient sensor to the sensor link cable of the automation hub. Bend the antenna mounting plate 90 degrees and mount it near the automation hub with 2 self-tapping screws. Then mount the antenna on the plate so that it points directly upwards. Before powering on the automation hub, you may need to set the wireless radio to a different channel by adjusting the dip switches on the circuit board. Check the user manual to see the different switch configurations for the different radio channels. You can use a small screwdriver to adjust the switches so that they match the configuration for the desired channel. To power on the automation hub, connect the included BinSense power adapter to the power link cable and plug the power adapter into an electrical outlet. The automation hub will start running as soon as you plug it in and is ready to start communicating with remote units after about 5 minutes. Next, we'll look at what needs to be set up on each automated bin. In this video, we'll demonstrate a bin using a BinSense fan-ready remote unit installed at ground level. Each bin with automation needs sensing cables, an aeration fan with a BinSense fan controller, a plenum sensor, and a fan-ready remote unit. Check out our other videos on installing sensing cables and fan controllers if you haven't already done that. Start the setup by selecting a location for the remote unit on the side of the bin near the fan controller. Remember to choose a location with line of sight to the automation hub antenna. Use the magnetic feet to mount the remote unit to the side of the bin with the antenna fin end close to the ground. If you change the radio channel on the automation hub, change the remote unit to the matching radio channel. The next step is to install the plenum sensor. Select a location on the side of the bin at least 10 feet away from the nearest aeration fan and about halfway between the concrete foundation and the perforated steel floor. Use a 1-inch hole saw to make a hole in the bin wall to install the plenum sensor. Next, position the plenum sensor through the hole with the metal sensor tip inside the bin plenum and the green plastic sensor pointed down towards the bin floor. Secure the plenum sensor in place using the 2 1.5-inch self-tapping screws. Make sure the gasket is compressed and making consistent contact with the bin wall. Run the link cable from the plenum sensor downward and away from the sensor and towards the location of the remote unit, securing it in place with the included P-clips. Once the plenum sensor is installed, all the ground-level components can be connected. Use a terminal box or splitter to connect all fan controllers and the plenum sensor to the fan control link cable from the fan-ready remote. Next, connect all the sensing cables at the top of the bin using another terminal box or splitter and run a single link cable connecting the cables at the top of the bin to the sensor link cable of the remote unit. Use the P-clips included with the link cables to secure the cable to the side of the bin. Make sure there is some slack and that the link cable is not pulled tight or sharply bent over the roof eave. Finally, connect the power cable from the remote unit to the fan power cable of the fan controller. This will power on the remote unit, and it will begin communicating with the automation hub within about 5 minutes. Check the BinSense dashboard to make sure all the remote units and the automation hub are connecting properly, and transfer ownership of the site to the customer.